Welcome back to Bazaar Morning Call. We kickstart the last trading week of 2021 and what a rollercoaster ride it's been this year. But let's see how things shape up. The SGX Nifty for now is down about 22 odd points. Lots to talk about, so without wasting any time, Anuj, let me begin with you. What are the stocks on your list today?
Sonia, I'll watch out for the tier 2 banks, just to see if there's a contagion impact or not. Names like, and if you see the last 3 or 6 months, a lot of these stocks have already started to weaken, whether it's IndusInd Bank or stocks like Bandhan Bank. Of course, RBL Bank will be the one in focus, but the market's worries always are on contagion with some of these tier 2, tier 3 banks. That's why I'll keep an eye on both these names today.
Okay, well, let's stick with that story. Actually, the other main bank to watch out for is going to be RBL Bank. Lata is here. Lata, you heard all the commentary that came in from the new, MD and CEO. And all the sort of things they were saying to try and assuage investor concerns. So what was your biggest takeaway?
Well, for me, the biggest takeaway was our sources at RBI also said that this was not sudden. They had given Vishwavir Ahuja a clear mandate when he was given a one-year extension in June 2021, that 1 year is to groom the successor for a handover. And the board had identified the ED as as a potential next, though of course there'll be a search committee and things like that, and that the over the weekend events were not triggered by any new financial development in the bank. This much a Reserve Bank source clarified to me. And then if you go to what the interim CEO MD said to the media, it was much on the same lines. He pointed out that it's not on account of any advances, asset quality or financial concerns. And the fact that an internal person has been elevated itself shows that the complaint was not with the management itself. He stuck to the guidance which they gave at the end of Q2, that Q3 will be better than Q2 and ROA will rise above 1%, will reach 1%, get back to that level. Credit cost will be lower and there won't be any need for capital for 8 to 12 months. They were only worried about MFI, and there was also a promise to diversify. At the analyst call, the interim CEO also said what the RBI source told us, that the process had actually begun with Vishwavir Ahuja's extension. There was also health concerns about Vishwavir Ahuja. There was a retina issue and therefore his inability to contribute too much in the last few months, and hence the Reserve Bank director inclusion was only to accelerate a process that was already underway. And again, he went on to say that their financials are fine and RBI did not raise any specific concern immediately. It had told them some time back itself that their risk management and compliance needs to improve. It was not any immediately raised concern. The brokerages, of course, have put it under review. Motilal Oswal, which I referred to, as well as Investec. A couple of these brokerages have put the rating under review. CLSA has cut target price. ICICI Securities is the only one which has changed it from a buy to a sell.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much for that, Lata. In fact, I'd stick with the story, This is separate development, and this is a story that our colleague Yash is picking up. The interest of two marquee names, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala and Radhakrishnan Damani, having some interest in RBL Bank. Important to play this out as well and put it in context, Yash, the timeline, whether they express the interest post the RBI development or pre. Tell us what you know.
That's correct, Surabhi. So, of course, we've had multiple sort of negative news coming around RBL Bank over the weekend, but there was something in terms of positives as well. What we were given to understand is that two key investors, Radhakrishnan Damani as well as Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, have reached out to the Reserve Bank of India with a request to acquire about 10% stake in RBL Bank. What sources also tell us is that the Reserve Bank of India currently is in the process of evaluating and assessing the proposal from both these investors in terms of whether or not to give them that crucial approval to acquire about 10% stake. As you rightly pointed out, there's a very important point which needs to be mentioned here, which is that this request from both the investors, that is Radhakrishnan Damani as well as Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, was put before the Reserve Bank of India, before the developments which took place at RBL Bank over the weekend in terms of the management changes. So that's an important caveat which needs to be mentioned. What we're given to understand is that as far as this particular approval is concerned, if at all, if it is given from RBI, then a fund will be created with joint investments from both these investors, which will have a 10% stake in RBL Bank, but that all depends on that crucial approval from the Reserve Bank of India.
Oh, absolutely, and that's an important point. And in any case, I just want to make a point. There's no restriction on holding up to 5% stake, and Rakesh has taken Federal Bank, he has taken Karur Vaishya Bank. And look at what Karur has done, for example, in the last 4 years, from 120 to 45. What Federal has done, for all the talk about it being the next best bank as a stock, what has it done? So it's not necessary that, just because a marquee investor, and at the end of the day, everything is good at a price for a lot of people. So, you got to do your own due diligence. You have your money, limited money. You have to treat it accordingly. That I wanted to make a point.
No, I only want to say that we shouldn't confuse this with the Yes Bank kind of issue, where, the promoter got into serious problems because he had his own businesses. From the sources I have in Reserve Bank, there was no such concern with Vishwavir at all. There was a partial health concern, and even before they wanted, before the health concern, they wanted him to use the last 1 year for a change of guard to groom. So it was not anything immediately triggered. I mean, I want to make that clear, which came from both sides, RBI and the bank. And they have no concern about any financial impropriety.
The quality of the book.
Yes. On the lines of Yes Bank. On the lines of Yes Bank, there was no...
No, absolutely. I mean, as I said, I'm not comparing the two. I'm saying, the price action, at the end of the day, the stock, the RBL Bank stock was 680 2 or 3 years back. It's languishing. It did the QIP at 350 rupees, and a lot of people thought, okay, now the worst is over, and how, this is going to... And, one more thing, a lot of people say, used to say that RBL Bank is the next HDFC Bank. And then all of a sudden the joke started that RBL Bank is the next Yes Bank. The reality is that it's neither. It's not the next HDFC Bank or the next Yes Bank. It's the first RBL Bank. And that is the limited point. The stock market action for last many years has been telling you something, that, there's a problem. Whether you want to bottom fish or not, up to you. Weak market, strong market, whatever, QIP at 300 plus, marquee investors, absolutely no respect for that. The stock's just seen one-way decline.
No, the banking sector itself has seen a decline. It is a rank underperformer in the...
ICICI Bank has gone up 40% in last 1 year.
Two different trends.
Yeah.
Two different trends. Banking sector has underperformed the Nifty. And within the banking sector, like in many other sectors, there is a clear differentiation of men and boys. So a lot of money has moved to SBI, ICICI,
absolutely,
and moved away from. So these are two trends. I just want to say that this is a part of a larger trend. Even well-run banks have not got investor attention because, under difficult circumstances, banking is not the best sector to be.
No. So Lata, I take your point. I completely agree with you. I think we are on the same point. Okay. But what I'm trying to say here is the bank Nifty's underperformance is mainly because, remember we used to have this discussion that when the economy is actually weak, the bank Nifty does better because a lot of money moves to HDFC Bank and Kotak. People don't want to touch the weaker stock. So the bank Nifty weakness of last 1 month is purely on account of HDFC Bank and Kotak. Kotak is actually down 12% this year, and HDFC Bank, for all the memes, ICICI, even ITC has outperformed HDFC Bank. It's SBI which has gone up the most, but it does not have that kind of a weight, and ICICI Bank has gone up. Now ICICI Bank is the second largest component. But I do take your point that it's been a week's... but the RBL Bank has been in a different league altogether in terms of the price action. It has not mattered whether it's been a... if you compare the charts of, say, ICICI Bank and RBL Bank over the last 12 months or 24 months, yes, a lot of banks have underperformed, but RBL has clearly seen...
Anuj, for me, I think the other name you mentioned is a better comparison. Look at Federal 1 year, look at RBL Bank 1 year. I mean, I'm not even going to what ICICI Bank has done or what SBI has done, but if you're comparing two mid-rung, private sector names, and the performances are very, very different.
Look, the short point is that there's some issue here, and you don't necessarily have to make money out of every stock. That's the point. What happens on this one, of course,